Oh my god. Oh my god, not again. Alright. Get this show on the road. Alright, and welcome in everybody. Hope you're having a great day. Fantastic, fantabulous, overall amazing freaking day. My name is Garrett Shumake, and you are listening to the Shumake Take. And as you can tell, I don't know if my hair is looking good or not. I was styling it a lot before I started going, as you can tell. And also, I don't have any water with me, so this is going to be a little bit of a challenge trying to do this without water. But then again, what we're talking about today, it's not going to be as long of a topic, so hopefully we can get through it. I'm confident that we're going to get through it. Not hopefully confident. I'm confident we're going to get through it. But you know what? If for some reason I just can't talk anymore, my mouth goes dry, or I start coughing, well, bear with me. We're all in this together, right? So before we get to our topic at hand, we've got to talk about a trade that happened as of yesterday, recording the video. Today is, let me look at my computer. Today is August 15th, so this happened on August 14th. Matthew Judon, the edge rusher for the New England Patriots, has been traded to the Atlanta Falcons, and all they got in return was a third-round pick. And when I did my schedule prediction video and I talked about the Atlanta Falcons, I talked about how they desperately needed edge rusher help. It was the big thing on their team that they really needed, and they chose to get a quarterback 8th overall instead of drafting a Dallas Turner or a Jared Verse or a Latu, right? And now they got the edge rusher that they desperately needed. For Matt Judon, he was the leader of that New England defense for the past couple years, and he was one of the few bright spots that they had. In 2021, he had 15 and a half sacks. In 22, he had 12 and a half sacks. And then last year, he only had 4 sacks, but he only played in 4 games because of injury. And he was set to make $6.5 million this year. But we'll get to that in a second. I'll go back to that, sorry. But this is just a huge move for the Atlanta Falcons. Let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons for a second. This is good for them. This is, like I said, this is the big position of need that they had on their team, and they went out and they got a guy that filled it. I know Matthew Judon only played 4 games last year, but we've seen when he's healthy, he is an elite pass rusher. He's a really darn good pass rusher in the NFL, and that's really going to help their linebackers. Is going to help their secondary. It's going to help a defense that was already top 10 last year, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, if they can be top 10 again and this time actually get a pass rush, I had them going 9-8. I'm not going to say that Matthew Judon, just him being there, is going to make me give them another win and make them go 10-7. But it definitely, if he makes an impact early and often in the season, especially if Kirk Cousins is slow starting, and his offense is slow starting, like I'm expecting, it's very much possible that now, that extra juice could help them win 10 games. I'm not gonna say it's definitively, oh yeah, they're gonna win 10 games now. Oh, but it's very possible. It's very possible that if he's very successful early on with Atlanta, that's a real possibility. I mean, it's still a legitimate possibility even without him, but still, it really helps their chances a ton. And they're filling in a need that they so desperately needed. I can't express that enough. How much they needed this move to happen, and to get him for a 3rd-round pick, that's really good too. That was really good as well. And I'm hoping here that they're about to give him a new contract. They traded for him. He's set to make $6.5 million this year. And the reason why he was traded was because he was in a contract holdout. And he wanted more money. The Patriots didn't want to give it to him. And that leads right into our conversation for Rants number 5. Training camp holdouts. And the good, the bad, and the ugly. I was originally going to say this is training camp holdouts are dumb when I first recorded this, but you know what? They're not dumb. I'm not going to try and do clickbaity titles that much. I'm not going to try and really do that. I'm going to try and be as honest and upfront as possible. But if I am, it's probably just something stupid or cheesy. But we got to get into training camp holdouts. And for those of you that may not know exactly what a training camp holdout is, because we got to start from the ground up when we're doing these rants. While I may be ranting, it's not exactly ranting. It's just about, let's take a common controversial or highly debated topic in the NFL, and let's look at all angles. Let's get into the weeds of what this conversation really is about, and let's look at both sides. Let's figure out what's going on, and let's educate the people. This is what Shumake Take Rants is all about. But for those of you that don't know what a training camp holdout is, according to our Lord and Savior Wikipedia, in professional sports, a holdout is when a player fails to report to their team, usually before the start of a season, or fails to perform the services outlined in the terms of their contract. So, first things first, why do players hold out? Well, there's two reasons. The first one is that they're unhappy. It's the more uncommon one, but sometimes a player's not happy with an organization, the culture, the locker room may not be good, they're not getting along with their coaches. It could be a lot of stuff that makes them not happy with the situation that they're in. And the second one, which is the most common one, is that they want a new contract. Maybe they're going on to the last year of their deal and they're one of the best at their position and they want a new contract that pays them like it. Or they might just want to restructure, like maybe they've already been paid and a couple players above them that got new contracts and they want to raise to go above them again. So look, that's all the little things about them wanting a new contract. So are they dumb? Are they bad? No, training camp holdouts aren't bad. They're not dumb. And ultimately, it comes down to one thing. It's a negotiation tactic. So people don't really think about a holdout that deep, of it being a negotiation tactic, but it is. Because let's bring it back to the real world for a minute. Because this is one of those times where the NFL and the real world actually coincide with one another, and they're actually pretty darn close. But like I said, it's a negotiation tactic. So how is it a negotiation tactic? So let's say you're working at an office job and you're making $70,000 a year, but you've shown that you can do the work of someone that's making $100,000 a year. Not only are you better than the people that are doing that job and making that much money, but you've proven that you can do it as well. Like I said, yeah, not only can you do it, you've proven you can do it better, and you have a case for yourself to be paid that money. And so you go up to your boss and you tell him, hey, I can do this job that's worth $100,000. I can do it better than these guys. Give me a raise. And they tell you no. So the thing is, your worth, your value, and what you bring to the job or to the organization or to the team. No matter the context. But a holdout isn't just to show that you guys are going to miss me while I'm not here. It's not just that I'm not going to provide my services or risk getting hurt because I want new money. It's not just, I don't want to play because I want new money. No, it's to show that, I'm going to prove my worth because when I'm not here, production's going to go down. Profits are going to go down. Whatever that may mean, whatever department that we're in, whether, like I said, whether it's real world or it's football. It's not just, I'm not going to work because I want more money. No, it's a show of, I'm going to show my worth and show that things are not as good when I'm not here, to prove that I should be here and I should be making the money so things are running at maximum efficiency. That's where the negotiation tactic comes in, because it's showing your worth not only when you are there, but it's also showing your worth when you're not there. Does that make sense? Good. And then, like I said, in the real world, it works the exact same way. We all have jobs where, we think we should be paid more and we do it better than anybody else. And so we don't, and sometimes, hey, we might just use our PTO and take a week off and then watch everything crash and burn. Or, it's not exactly black and white like what it is and here compared to the NFL, but hey, that new competitor is offering me that position. I might go over there and just get paid over there. Of course, in the NFL, that's a little bit different because it's where, the two sides, the NFL and the real world, kind of go away a little bit, and the training camp holdout can become problematic. The first thing first is that it comes off as selfish and unloyal to the team. Now, is that a bad thing? No. It can become problematic because it divides the fan base. It might cause division in the locker room. More than likely, it doesn't. Players understand players. They get it. Everyone's, doing what's best, what they think is best for themselves and for their family. So that makes sense. They get that. But is it selfish and unloyal? Yes. But also, that's not a bad thing, because in the real world, you don't devote yourself to a company for 20, 30 years anymore. You don't do that because it's been shown that they're not going to appreciate you. They're not going to pay you the money you deserve. You should always, every job you work, this is some life advice for you. Every job you work, always think about it as a plan to springboard. as a springboard. Always think about, okay, I'm working at this job, and always think about your next opportunity. Always think about where else you could go, because more often than not, you're probably not going to be at that job for a long time, and nor you probably shouldn't, unless they got great benefits, you make great money. That's one thing. You work until you retire, like that's one thing. If you're in a great company or a great organization, and you're getting taken care of, that's different. But if you're working, you're just doing a job where you can go somewhere else and work and maybe make more money, or like maybe you have like an advancement to move up, if that makes sense. Like if you have advancements to move up, always look at your job as a springboard to go to the next one. Always finding ways to work on yourself and you know work hard and make a better outcome for yourself, and always find a way to do better and get better and get better. Right? That's how you should look at jobs for the most part. And is that selfish because you're looking out for yourself? Yes. But there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it at all. Working really hard to get the most money that you deserve. And that's the thing. That's not loyal, but there's no loyalty in the world anymore. There doesn't have to be. Because ultimately, the people that you're supposed to be, or the companies that you're supposed to be loyal to, aren't as loyal to you as you're supposed to be loyal to them. So why should you give them that same energy, right? Because if they're not going to give it to you, so look out for yourself. Make as much money as you can and work hard so you can springboard to other opportunities to make more money for yourself. That's how it works. But it's only problematic because it divides the fan base and it causes ruckus. That's probably the worst thing about it. So maybe it's not entirely problematic. It might be problematic for the organization, yes. So maybe I have it in my script like this, just so you know. That's probably why it's a little why it's a little weird, but no, I'll take it out. No, it's not problematic, but it does come off as selfish and unloyal, but that's perfectly okay. But the next thing is that it does create a distraction. When whether you're a player or a coach, what you want to focus on is you want to focus on football and winning your star player. And when a star player is holding out, it causes the media to talk about it, ask the coach about it, and it takes away from the focus on football. And so it doesn't create like this huge thing where it's like, oh, well, the team's not locked in, they're struggling without their player. Like it's never that bad. But as someone who, if you're a hard worker and you're someone who's deeply invested into something, you know how hard it is like to have to stop something or talk about something else, like a distraction. You don't like getting distracted. Like when I'm recording these videos, I don't like getting distracted. It's a pain in the neck. It's annoying. Whether it's out of my control or not, it doesn't change how I feel. But it's annoying when you're invested into something and then something kind of like tries to throw a wrench into it. Excuse me, a little bit of air in here. It's an it is annoying, and especially for football, players and coaches don't want that. They don't want distractions. They want to focus on football. And the third point here, like after a period of time, it can really hurt the player. It can create, rust. It can hurt their play. Let's say, a player holds out all of training camp and they get traded to a new team. They get the new contract. Is it the rust going to be there where like it's going to significantly hamper their play? Is it going to make them play bad? No. It's just going to take a little bit more time for them to gel with their new teammates, gel with their quarterback, build chemistry, learn the offense. Like it's going to take some time for things to work for them to work itself out, and so the player might have a slower start to the season. But that doesn't mean they're going to be bad, or it's not going to determine how the end of the season is going to be for them or their team. Like it is going to create some rust, but it's nothing that's too significant. But there are times where it can age like milk and it will ruin your career. Think about Le'Veon Bell a while back. He had wanted a new contract with the Steelers. They didn't want to give it to him, so he held out and missed that entire season of football. He skipped the whole year of football because he wanted the contract that he wanted, but no one was willing to give it to him. The Steelers weren't, and they weren't wanting to trade him, if I remember correctly. But then he comes back and he goes to the Jets. Takes less money than he was asking for, and he came back and he was awful. He was completely awful, and I think after that year he was out of the league and he was done. And it's like, it's just sad. It's sad because Le'Veon Bell was such a great player. He was so good, and then in the span of a couple years, fell off and he was done. And it goes to show, how quick the NFL changes and how quick, if you don't get on that, if you miss playing time in the field, it's going to hurt you a lot. It's going to hurt you a ton. And the thing is, Unfortunately, that does a lot of bad for the player. Like we're going to talk about a couple of notable players here when talking about the organization and how they play a role. But if in this situation, if an organization really wants to be, a what about the situation, and it can really hurt the player, and it really, it's like it's almost taking advantage of as we get to the very end here. You'll see what I mean. But continuing on, it's not just a player that plays a role in in a contract negotiation or a holdout. It's the front office that plays a role, that plays a role as well. As I mentioned, the organization and the happiness the player has in that organization matters. The culture, the players, the coaches, the strength and conditioning. If the player's not getting along with some of those guys, they may want to trade. So that's the big thing. That's the first big role that organizations and front offices have to play. But the big one is, sometimes the front office, sometimes they don't want to give the contract or they're hesitant. Like look at Brandon Ayuk right now. The 49ers are very hesitant to give Brandon Ayuk a new contract. And I heard they did reopen negotiations, so hoping they can work that out. But there was a trade that was set to go for Brandon Ayuk to go to Cleveland, and he turned that down because of the quarterback situation in Cleveland, which I don't blame him for. But that's besides the point. And there's other times where, they're not really in much of a hurry. Like if you look at Jamar Chase, for example, he's holding out. Well, he's not holding out. He's having a hold in. So he's in the building. He's just not practicing. And, Jamar Chase compared to Brandon Ayuk and the other guys we're going to talk about on this list, they have 1 year he has 2 years on his deal compared to 1. So it may not be, and usually these contract negotiations happen when there's 1 year left, not 2. So, if I was Cincinnati, though, I would get him paid as soon as possible because once Brandon Ayuk gets paid and once we'll talk about him here in a little bit, but when CeeDee Lamb gets paid, Jamar Chase is going to want more than them because you can make the debate that he's better than both. So, if I were Cincinnati, I would get that deal done sooner rather than later because being hesitant or maybe not being in a rush does not necessarily help you in the long run, in my opinion. But then there's the guys like Jerry Jones or the Jets GM Joe Douglas. If you can hear the phone ringing, I'm sorry. I'm home alone. I'm not answering that phone unless it says it's from someone important. Let's see. Oh, it said unavailable. No, I ain't answering that phone. The phone has stopped ringing, and we're going to continue. So we talked about getting ready to talk about how guys like Jerry Jones and General Manager Joe Douglas. So sometimes the front office, sometimes they won't give the contract, or they might be hesitant to do it, or may not be in a hurry. Then there's guys like Jerry Jones and GM Joe Douglas that are outright dumb. They're unprofessional, and they openly say, "Oh, it's not happening," and then it ends up burning a bridge with the player, and then it's completely unprofessional. Let's talk about CeeDee Lamb for a second. CeeDee Lamb's been holding out. He wants a new contract after he had a career year last year. He had over 1,800 yards. And Jerry Jones, in an interview, said that they weren't in any hurry. They weren't, they're not looking to get a contract done anytime soon. I'm going to put credits in the description, and I'll put credits either in the top of the video, but I'll give you the clip, and this is exactly what he had to say.
Hey, this is Editor Garrett here. I just wanted to verbally disclose that I do not own the clips that I'm about to show you. The first clip is from CBS Sports and then pulled from The Rich Eisen Show, and the second clip is from ESPN. And once again, I do not own these clips at all. These are not mine. They are strictly just to enhance content. Thank you. Here we go.
Are you saying there's a sense of urgency as you begin the preseason to get CD done?
No.
No? Why you say that?
I'm just, I went to high school or I went to college. I don't know why I said it, but I'm just saying I don't know. I don't have a sense of urgency about getting it done.
Because it's a long-standing tradition.
Pick any reason you want. I was at Nobu 2 days ago. Give that as a reason. I don't think anything update other than we're conscientiously working to get something done.
When you see CD's tweet, I was out here last week also, when you see his tweet, what did that make you feel any kind of way to know that was on social media?
Well, I don't want it to be misconstrued. We obviously do this because of how bad we want to be together. I know he wants to be a Dallas Cowboy, and we want him to be a Dallas Cowboy. So I don't flare too much when we see something that might be taken the wrong way. I really don't.
Yeah, when your star receiver is holding out and he wants a new contract, you don't say that openly to the media. You don't say that. And then he ended up and CD Lamb ended up responding on Twitter and letting it know that he saw it. And it's like, you're burning a bridge. You know the phrase, like, you praise in public, criticize in private? That's the thing. Like, it's not exactly the same thing with a contract negotiation, but it's the same concept. You don't openly, say stuff like, you don't openly talk negative about or say something negative about a situation or about a player. You don't say that openly because that's not professional, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for PR reasons. It doesn't look good to the fan base. It doesn't look good to NFL media in general, and it doesn't look good on your football team. It's unprofessional. Don't do it. But here comes Jerry Jones, and he's sitting there, flapping his mouth. And now it's like, if I'm CD Lamb, if they don't want to get a contract done anytime soon, trade me. And then Jerry Jones went out and said, "Oh, you're missed, okay?" And then he pretty much doubled down on his comment. And it's like, well, if you're missed, then pay him. Get the contract negotiations. Get the agent on the phone and go get it done. I know we all make fun of the Cowboys. We all, joke on their fan base a ton. But if we're being real for a minute, this is something a lot of Dallas Cowboys fans will agree with as well, is Jerry Jones just needs to step down, man. He just needs to step down. It's been on a downhill spot or downward spiral since he's won those Super Bowls in the 90s, and they haven't been able to get back. They haven't got back to an NFC championship, and it does not, ever since he became a GM, it does not seem like that he can build the roster to get over the hump. And I'm starting to think, there's always one recurring thing with Cowboys playoff meltdowns. And the one thing that's constantly there is Jerry Jones. And I think that's the guy that might be the most at fault. I think he needs to step down. We need to get a new GM in here that might actually know what they're doing. And he just needs to go back to being an owner and take himself out of the front office as much as possible. But that's a different rant for another day, probably. But then we get into GM Joe Douglas. And this one might actually be worse. Because this is an official statement that he had put out. And I think the New York Jets put this out themselves on their social media page. This is what he had to say. I'm going to pull up the quote, and I'm going to pull it up here on the screen. Here's what he said. "We have informed Hassan that we will not trade him, that he is expected to be here with his teammates, and that he will continue to be fined per the CBA or a collective bargaining agreement if he does not report. Since the trade discussions back in March, we have been clear, direct, and consistent with our position. Our focus will remain on the guys we have here as we prepare for the regular season." Okay. No. Simply put, no. This is another unprofessional thing. This is dumb. Now, here's the thing. I know that going into this season, they had initially agreed, it was rumored that they agreed that Hassan would play in the last year of his contract, and, they'd figure something out later. But here's the deal. If you're the GM of the Jets and you're out there and you lose Bryce Huff, coincidentally he goes to the Eagles, and you trade from one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, who is fourth in the league in sacks over the past 4 years, with over 50 sacks. He has one year left on his deal. If you trade for that guy, you trade draft capital to get that guy, why isn't your first instinct to get a new contract in and pay for him? You don't trade for a guy of Hassan Reddick's caliber to use him for 1 year and then figure out what you're going to do after. If you're not committed to that guy being a game changer for your team, if you're going to trade for that guy, why aren't you going to pay him? Even if you guys agree that he was going to play the last year of your contract, why wouldn't you at least get something going in the works and get that done? Why would you want to secure him as soon as possible? Why? That doesn't make any sense to me. Genuinely, Joe Douglas, what are you doing, dude? What are you doing? You're a GM, and this is a rookie mistake. And how many years has he been a GM now? He's been there for a few years, and he's pulling this crap. Not to mention, they're finding Hassan Reddick, and he's going to continue to be fined. And it's okay, it's over $1 million now. He's a multi-millionaire. That does nothing for him. It doesn't teach. It doesn't. It's not all of a sudden. Oh, my funds have reached over $1 million. Guess I better show up to training camp. No, it doesn't matter. $1 million to him is nothing. So that's not gonna get him to change his mind. And if I remember, and if I'm correct on this, so someone tell me if I'm wrong. But I remember Joe Douglas did say that, okay, if you want negotiations, come into the building and report. We'll be there. Well, here's the thing, if I'm Hassan Reddick at that case, in that point, I would just show up to the building so I can get my contract done. But honestly, going back to Joe Douglas for a second, openly saying that we're not going to trade you and we're not going to pay you. So you're willingly saying that you're going to hold a player hostage until they do what you do. No, you don't do that. First off, not only is that wrong, you shouldn't do that. You're pretty much abusing, at that point, you're abusing that player's contract. But also, you're the GM of the Jets. The Jets, last I checked, have not made the playoffs since 2010, and they've been perpetually bad. Not to mention that they've still been bad, even as Joe Douglas has been the GM and Robert Shaw has been the head coach. They haven't been good either. They have not been good. They've been mid, but they've not been good. And with that track record of not having any success with the Jets to this point, what position are you to even say that? What position are you to even do that? Not even guys like John Lynch, the GM of the 49ers, was one of the best GMs in the league, could get away with that. Not even if Bill Belichick did that, he could get away with that. No. And you're sitting here like you're the GM of a team that hasn't won a playoff game in over a decade. Like, who are you to talk about, we're not going to trade you and we're not going to give you a new contract? Who are you talking about? You traded this guy because you wanted him to play for you. You wanted he came here because he wanted to play for you. He wanted to play for the Jets, and you wanted him to play for the Jets. So why are you acting out of spite and hurting the player and holding him hostage? Like, if you're not going to pay him, then trade him away. Just trade him. Like, if you're going to sit there and keep him on the books and you're going to waste draft capital for a player that you're not going to pay and you're not going to, use, get rid of him. Send him somewhere that he wants to go so we can go get a new contract. Like, whatever you're doing isn't going to make him all of a sudden report. And I hope, part of me does hope that Hassan does, so we can get so something can get done, whether it's a deal with the Jets or he gets traded so he can play. Because if he misses this year of football, as we looked at, with when we talked about Le'Veon Bell, that could do a lot of damage. So for Hassan's sake, I want him just to show up so something can get done. But, he shouldn't have to show up to get something done. Joe Douglas is trying to pull a power move and pull a power trip. And he's literally holding a player hostage. Like, he's an idiot. He's a straight up idiot. This is probably the rantest part. The actual rant of the video is GM Joe Douglas being an absolute freaking moron. And I know some people, like on social media, will be like, "Oh, he's standing his ground. The player isn't the one that's in power. The player not in charge." Oh, yes, they are. Let's think about it. Let's look at Joe Douglas and Hassan Reddick. Which person is out there, wearing all the pads, working out in the heat and hitting players super hard and, risking their lives, risking, their long-term health when they're done playing? Who's out there putting their body through literal HE double hockey sticks for years? And then who's the guy that gets to sit on his butt in the air conditioning and talk on the phone? And you want to tell me that the guy that sits on his butt is the one that's in power here? No one has any power over everybody. It's a collaborative thing. But if there's one person that probably has power, it's Hassan Reddick. You traded for him. He's one of the best pass rushers in the league. You got him here because you lost one of your best pass rushers. You got him to fill a hole that was left when Bryce Huff left. And then you want to sit here and you want to act like, I'm in control. Well, no, because guess what? If Hassan Reddick doesn't play, the Jets pass rush is not going to be any good. Well, it'll be decent, but it's not going to be nowhere near as good if Hassan Reddick was on the field. And if you're not going to give him a contract, just trade him. Just trade him. Like, stop your power tripping. Figure it out and trade him. Hold on, phone. Okay, the phone's up. But oh my God, like, I'm getting intense right now because, like, it's dumb. It's literally just dumb. Either pay him or trade him. Like, what are you, like, genuinely, like, here's the thing, let's go to the real world for a minute. And, you're that guy that's making 70,000, and you go to your boss and you want to make 100,000 because you can do the job better than the people that are making 100,000. And so you go to them and you're like, "Oh, I want to raise," and they're like, "No, go back to work." And it's like, who are you? Like I think about how much value I'm providing for this company, and you're gonna sit here and treat me that way? No, I'm gonna go somewhere else, or I would like to go somewhere else where someone's going to appreciate what I can bring to the table. And the problem is, with a contract, you're like, oh, you play under your contract, go back to work. Oh, you sign the contract and play it. Nah, 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 nah. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. Because all that does, all that it does, all it does is burn bridges, and all it does is create bad blood and creates issues. So no, you want to talk about, standing your ground, and oh my god, my foot's asleep. Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm sorry. My foot is heavily asleep, and it feels like 1,000 pounds. Holy crap. Okay, but all right, well, we got to get back into it. I broke character there for a second. It's crazy how quick I can be intense about something, and like a little thing like my foot being asleep can just completely. Oh my god, it's like pins and needles. It's so uncomfortable. But like, I don't know, dude. Like, why? I just don't know why Joe Douglas is doing this. There's no position for him to do it. He has no standing on it. The Jets have been bad. He hasn't proven that he's been able to build a roster that can compete yet. And I don't know. It's just unprofessional. It's dumb. If you're not gonna pay him, trade him. If you're not gonna pay the man, trade him and just call it a day. Because it literally does you no good to be spiteful like that and then just hold him hostage. It literally does no good because you're wasting money. You already wasted draft capital. Cut your losses and move on if you feel that way. It's just dumb. And I hope Hassan Reddick can get a contract that he deserves, whether it's with the Jets or it's with a new team. But if I'm him, I just want to trade from the Jets. I know he already demanded a trade, and I hope he gets it because this will send a message around the league that, hey, Joe Douglas is going to hold you hostage, and that's not going to look, and that does not look good when you're trying to draft players or bring players in when next year rolls around. And so, to finally conclude this thing, should players hold out? Yes, they should. In my honest opinion, it's fine. I get it. Personally, I'm not a big fan of holdouts. I'm more of a believer in the hold in. So you still show up to the building, you're in the meeting rooms and whatnot, so you're involved. Because you don't want to risk losing a step and losing game ability yourself. But at the same time, I mean, you're looking out for yourself and you're looking out for your family. I mean, you're doing what's best for yourself, and that's fine. Because if you're playing at a level where you deserve to be one of the top paid, you should be the top paid. No doubt about it. That's how it is in the real world. If you work and show that you deserve to be paid like the best, your boss should pay you like you're the best. It's plain and simple. If your work is here and your pay is here, then that stays that same. But if your work is here and your pay is here, then your pay should be up there right with your level of work. And to be fair, there are some nuances to it, of course, with the salary cap and the phone. Sorry. Okay. I apologize. The jump cuts that are happening in this video all the time, they're not gonna. Once I'm back at home, that's not gonna be like this. I promise. But we're getting through there. We're doing the best we can. But as I was saying, there's nuance to players holding out in the NFL compared to maybe in the real world because there's a salary cap. There's a limited amount of money that can go around to pay every player on a roster. And in the 49ers situation, there's already limited money to go around because they have the top paid running back. They have the highest paid left tackle that was also holding out and wants a new contract. They have the highest paid tight end, linebacker, Brock Purdy. If he has another great year, he's going to get a monster deal. You already know that. So it's like there's not as much money to go around paying these players. And, that's going to hurt the team's chances to win because it's not many players are not going to be able to bring in as many good players. And, and then you look at guys like Tom Brady, who took a ton of pay cuts to win, and he won 7 Super Bowls. And he even said, and I can't remember where he said it. Oh yeah, he said it in a rookie expo with all the rookie quarterbacks that were drafted, and he was like, telling them, hey, you can go out and get the money that you want and get all the money and the fame, you can do that. That's fine, but you're not going to win, and that's true. If you're taking the biggest contract every time, I mean, it's economics. If you're taking a majority of the salary cap, you're not going to have as many, resources around you to keep on winning. And Tom Brady, he took pay cuts. He didn't take the big contract, and he got 7 Super Bowls out of it. I'm not saying there's no interlap where like, oh yeah, if you take the big contract, you're not going to win. Like, no, you're still going to win games. You're still going to win playoff games. You might win a Super Bowl. That's still going to happen. That's still possible. But you're simply not going to win as many, and you're simply not going to in that regard, your legacy is probably not going to be as remembered because you only maybe won 1 Super Bowl. Which, sure, you might still be a Hall of Fame receiver and you won a Super Bowl. That's awesome. But I mean, when you look at guys like Tom Brady who've won 7, there's a reason why he's the greatest of all time. Why he's in that 1% of players, because he did the thing that 99% of others won't do, and that's not inherently a bad thing. There's only specific people in the world that are like that, but it's not like everyone else is bad because they don't do it. So I mean, it's a matter of interest. Do you want money? Do you want money? Do you want to win more? And sometimes you just want both, so you get paid and you play and you continue having a great career and you still go on and make the Hall of Fame. You still have a happy ending. Like, it's still possible. So I mean, it's ultimately just a matter of interest. And training camp holdouts, hey, players hold out. You deserve to be one of the highest paid. Go get your bag and be one of the highest paid. You shouldn't be trashed on because you just want more money for yourself and for your family, because you deserve to be compensated for your work. But oh my God, that was a little longer than I thought it would be, and it was pretty intense with all the jump cuts. But that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this rant. I know I was getting pretty hot there talking about Joe Douglas. Wow, that guy's a moron. But we'll talk more, and hopefully, we'll have an update. I'll have a video to talk about these contract situations as they come out, and we'll see what happens. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Love you guys, and thank you guys for watching. Remember, do all the stuff that every YouTuber tells you to do. You already know the drill, and we'll see you in the next one. Wah! I gotta stop doing that. That's not